Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dings with Kinks. Before we get into tonight's episode, I want to remind all you sexy cats and kittens out there that we are in fact on that social media. Look us up at Dinks with Kinks on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm your host, John Undera, and with me as always the two sexiest people on the internets, Rebecca and Mr. Shep.
Hello.
Is he like going for that late 80s, early 90s DJ intro there?
Yes. And I'm here for
No,
it.
that was a Tiger King reference.
Tiger King.
Yeah,
Cousin
Carol
of Tiger
Baskin's there
King.
for a hot minute. Yeah. Listen, I'm sorry. I froze a little bit. I panicked. I had a real statuesque moment, and I was just like, I don't know what to do.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't.
But you know.
When in doubt, I go mannequin and just quote from Tiger King. I mean, I feel like that's the safest bet for anybody.
I thought when in doubt, you go manic.
It was the
Very
tiger.
manic.
It was hello, you cats. I was like, oh my God, I can't function. I was like, you lost me at that point. I was like,
I need our whole audience to freeze for a hot second, just to get into the mood of what we're doing tonight. Now, all right. So, you guys, if you look over into the chat, I posted a word in there, and I want you guys to try to say it.
Agalmatophilia? Agalmatophilia? Agalmatophilia.
Agalmatophilia. Agalmatophilia. Which sounds slightly racist.
That's all I can think.
Shep, go
Sorry,
ahead and try to
okay.
pronounce that.
All right, I'm still wavering from you guys. So I'm trying to do
Do it.
it. Agalmatophilia. Wasn't it philia?
Not
Sorry.
phobia.
We're not
That's a fear.
Different podcast.
I
Different
was-
podcast.
I started to sound it out, but then I got scared. Okay, sorry.
It is. It's a complex one, but essentially it is the attraction to mannequins or statues or, let's say real dolls, like life-size dolls,
Yes, but,
which is a whole different kink, but we will get into a little bit of that. I think we're all familiar with...
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, but the joking aside, it's agalmatophilia. Yes,
Agalmatophilia.
not that the one I said.
Sounds very Italian.
Yes.
Like, I don't feel like I can say that word without an Italian accent, and I feel, even though I am Italian, I feel like that's offensive somehow.
Do you feel offended?
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Wait,
offended
Shep
by
and I are
myself.
both like, are you offended? Are you offended by that?
I am a little offended. I want to call my
Oh, okay.
people on it. Just be like,
Oh, okay, cool.
I shouldn't be saying that. And they're like, but you're Italian. I still shouldn't be saying it.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, are you guys familiar with the 1980s movie Mannequin?
Oh,
course.
that is a guilty pleasure of mine. I do. I love that. Kim Cattrall in that. Yeah.
And those of you who are not familiar with the 1980s, which was 40 years ago, there was a Bob's Burger episode where a man was in love and quote-unquote married to a mannequin because he thought he was, in fact, a mannequin at one point in time. That was actually a really good Christmas episode of Bob's Burgers. I highly suggest watching it.
I like Bob's Burgers.
I like that Shep is looking puzzled, and I'm like, telling you it was a good episode.
I don't know if I saw that episode.
Possibly not. But either way, this man was in fact in love with a mannequin. And yeah, so this is actually a very common fetish. I think we've all grown up going into the department stores as we were young and seeing the mannequins all dressed in their clothes. And I don't know, mannequins have gotten creepier as I've gotten older. Like they look
have no face.
less human. Yeah, they have no faces.
No face.
Or they're all like silver and like look from the future. And I'm like,
They're
they're T-1000s
non-binary
coming to get
faces.
me. But when we were younger, I mean, they looked like people. Mannequins were people too, you know.
Mannequins is people.
They did. They tried to make the mannequins look more human, but now they just look like I don't know,
Oregato?
weird.
Half put together robots. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. That is still similar to this. I mean, of course, at the root of this, it's a paraphilia. It is an object. It is an attraction to an object that is not genitalia. And there are many causes of this fetish, like many origins for this fetish.
What if the mannequin
look back,
has a genitalia and they're attracted to that?
Oh yeah, atomically correct. Oh yeah, there. So let's travel back in time a little bit to the Renaissance.
Back to the Future.
Let's go back. Back when sculpting became statue sculpting became very high detailed. Your Michelangelos, your other Ninja Turtles, where they would create these very, very lifelike statues of both men and women. And a lot of them, I mean, if you think about David, statue of David, who has his junk right there. It's not impressive junk, but apparently that was the deal back then. Just don't put impressive junk on it. Nobody wants hanging dong on their statue.
It's average junk, okay?
Big balls. Have you seen it? He's got like big old balls. But like maybe he's a grower. Maybe he's a grower.
He could be a grower. But I think it was just an unspoken rule. Don't let your statues hang dong. Like, don't let them hang massive dong. You can give them little peen. You can give them. We don't need anybody walking by that going, man, I'm not even hung better than the statue. But it wasn't.
It was cold in that clay.
It was very cold on modeling day, posing day. But this is when statues started becoming very lifelike, very high detailed, and there was an attraction built there. I mean, we were trying to capture the beauty of humanity, the almost imperfect perfection. Because I believe that if you have too much perfection, it's not perfect. It's actually imperfect, because the perfect specimen of a human is not perfect at all. I mean, I think we all have and this is a modern reference, but The Whale, starring Brendan Fraser, which just won an Oscar. Yeah, perfect character right there. Just, but not the statuesque body that you think. No. So there's almost this godlike attraction to statues. Have you guys ever seen a statue and you're like, fuck yeah, I'd bone that?
I have actually. What's the one without the arms? The Venus? Is that the one that doesn't have the arms?
Yeah.
Venus de Milo?
Yeah.
Venus de Milo.
My grandmother actually had a statue replica, and I remember just thinking her stomach was so smooth and her belly button and everything. I was like, yeah. I was like,
everything.
I should have known that I was bi.
Everything was symmetrical on there. The nipples, the breast, every part of her body is absolutely perfect.
You just looked at that statue.
It's so perfect that one time Homer Simpson got a sexual harassment suit and was called out by the Me Too movement for eating a gummy Venus de Milo off a girl's butt. Another reference that only probably 10% of our audience got. I got them tonight. I don't know why. I have them all.
I'm
but
here for
it. Yeah, they're here for it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
look at the real thing, and you're just like, I wish all the girls were like statues of Venus, and I'd be equipped with a petrified penis.
It was one of the things. There was absolutely this flawless quality to these statues. It was out of we were out of expressionism, where you had Picasso making everyone look warped, and but almost had a level of the realist imperfection there, to a more pristine, flawless creation of statues. And so I'm kind of really throwing out this kink originated in this time period, because before then statues were very crude, not super detailed. They weren't poorly detailed, but they weren't art yet. Statues were monuments.
Yeah. They were busts of things, just the neck up,
Neck up. Or they were war memorials, or they weren't an attraction to beauty. Like they weren't like a they weren't beautified.
I don't know. Back in the Roman days, they came up with some, and started worshiping the gods and goddesses. I think that's when the art really started to appear there too.
Yeah, well, like I said, yeah, absolutely. In Greece, when statue making became more of not memorial, but a sign of art and beauty. And I think that's kind of like what you think of when you think of the Renaissance, when you think of like ancient Greece, when they were depicting their gods and goddesses, and it was absolute perfection. And I think a lot of this kink stems from that. It's not so much that I'm attracted to the inanimate object, but now there is a side of this where they are, and we're going to get into that too, but we're going to boil down to statuesque perfection, like flawless. Almost to a level that's in. You guys know what the uncanny valley is?
No.
Okay, the uncanny valley is a graph. You at the very spectrum, at the highest, the most human is an actual human.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps going out, and then you have a human in costume or makeup. It's a little lower. You don't quite get that human feel from it. But you're like, okay, but that's still a guy. I get it. And then you have a computer-generated man at the lowest point.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like where you go, I don't know what's wrong with this, but there's something wrong with this. It's just not real. It cannot trick my brain. And that's what the uncanny valley is. And listeners at home, look it up. The uncanny valley is great. I think they really put it in perspective when they started remake and doing CG characters. One of the best descriptions I ever had is comparison to Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And just where humans stand on your ability to disband disbelief.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
and
just
I
making reality out of no reality, Mm-hmm.
Well, we quickly learned that part of what we recognize, what we look for in a person, is their flaws. If someone is completely perfect and completely flawless, you don't really register with them. You will, every part of your brain will look for a flaw, and it's not about insecurities, but flaws are what makes us human. That's why, like, if you look at a statue with no imperfections, you never go, "That's a person."
Yeah.
Yes. Until
perfect.
Until the magic of Rob Zombie gave us more human than human.
More human than human. And that song is all about the Uncanny Valley. It was actually written in inspiration to the Uncanny Valley. Just look it up. Totally not making that up. And I think that is it. There's that unattainable beauty. Because no one can be as perfect as a statue. Because no matter how fit you are, no matter how gorgeous your skin is, you will always have a flaw.
Mm-hmm.
And, normal, instinctual things, that's what we look for in other people. Because I have flaws, I want to see somebody else with flaws. If I can't find a flaw in you, I'm not going to be able to connect to you. Because I have flaws. Where are your flaws?
Oh, they're everywhere.
Yeah, it was just written all over my face. And so that's where I think this attraction comes from. It comes from that inhuman quality, that almost unreal, unattainable flawlessness.
But there is some, I can see that because there is some draw. There's a draw whereas in somebody who doesn't have Agalmatophilia, look, that doesn't have this, like, we still look at those, like the David and the Venus de Milo, and we look at those and we still have that emotional feeling of the perfection. Like, we look at it, and that's why they've lasted through time. It is just so perfect, and that mental attraction to that, because it is but people with this kink and this fetish, they have something about that is more than that. It's that sexual attraction, and I can totally see how that can cross that line and go in more in depth.
And their
absolutely. And
triggers are emotional damage.
Well, here where we're gonna get to the fun part. And as I was doing research on this kink and like looking into it, a lot of times, you know, it's not just statues that they have this attraction to, but 9 times out of 10, it's a mannequin, and they'll affix on a mannequin. And funny enough, a lot of times, and it's not always, so don't come at me, internet, and be like, that's not me at all. A lot of the stories I've read is the mannequins they choose to fall in love with are the mannequins that they can find their specific flaws in. This paint job is a little uneven here. There's a chip there. They humanize the inanimate object by creating flaws which build the attraction. Because then we're getting the real root of why people are attracted to people.
That's fun. That's actually a fun fact.
Yeah. People aren't attracted to people who are flawless. People are attracted to people who have flaws that they connect to. So next time you worry that you're too flawed, just remember that's the source of all human attraction and all human connection is, you know, your flaws, because you don't stick your dick in God.
You just preach about it.
I'm sorry.
Are you okay there, Rebecca?
I'm laughing because it's like every trauma I have is worrying about all of my flaws. And I'm over here and I'm like, well, fuck.
It's not your flaws we worried about.
And a lot of this fetish, it's not just sexual arousal, it's emotional connection too. And let's get a little bit about like just the connection, the emotional connection to it. A lot of these people with this fetish grew up in situations where they were dealt with abuse. They were also, or not just abuse, but neglect or overburden. Like it could have been too much of a good thing. And the one thing that most people see in mannequins and statues is their own reflection of yourself. That creation can be any personality that you want it to be. It is someone who's not going to judge you unless you want to be judged. It's not going to ridicule you unless it's something that you want. You get to create that character. You get to create the substance that is that mannequin. And a lot of people, it's not just sexual attraction. They form tight and deep emotional bonds to these things. And it's essentially just a reflection of themselves that they're projecting onto that. What they want to see. What they need to see. And just either because they've never experienced it before, only through, distant vision and stuff like that.
Well, and I think that with a mannequin and, you're projecting that personality, like it also, like it doesn't talk back. Like it is that perfect person that you're constantly searching for, and that they can be anything you want, and there's an appeal to that because you're not having to worry about the insecurities. You're not having to worry about them not liking you or you fucking up and them breaking up with you. Like you have that security. It's almost a security feeling, and I can totally see that where it's this object, and to them this person has this person, and it's never going to leave me. It's never going to judge me. It's never going to, like, they are never going to, I can never mess up with this person. And
unless
I can
that's
see
what
where
they
that's
want.
Right.
Yeah, it is essentially it's whatever they want it to be. It's their own creation, their own story. And like I said, there are many documentaries. I highly suggest, I can't think of any one name, but hit Netflix up. There's a whole site on sex robots. There was very, really good thing. And they're like, why are you building sex robots? It's essentially just an upgraded version. And like, same with the real sex dolls. It's an upgraded version of this mannequin fetish. It is, I have now something tangible that I can imprint what I want to have back and build this fantasy in my head. And it's safe. I want to say there is a lot to be said about the healthiness of this, because you're building very unrealistic standards to, what you need. Because, like I said, everyone needs to be talked back to. Everyone needs to be challenged in their own sort of way. You can't go through life having someone who doesn't, challenge you in any sort of way. In a relationship, because that's what relationships are based on. And then, like I said, I'm not talking about my personal opinion. I'm just talking about psychologically speaking, because that's how you build healthy relationships going forward. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having these fetish. I think this fetish is actually really nice. It's a really good coping mechanism to dealing with. I either have massive social anxiety, and it's crippling. I cannot get over it. So I have somebody I can concede into, or I have so much insecurity, and it's not just about my anxiety. It's just I am insecure. I can create somebody I feel safe with. So, like I said, as much as I believe there is so much unhealthy about this, that can be said about a lot of kinks.
Now, with this particular kink, would you also feel that it kind of maybe in some small ways blends with the doll fetish? You know how mannequins and even statuesque have that, oftentimes that perfect porcelain type look. So we'll have people that seek the people have that same porcelain or porcelain doll look or complexion to them.
And I think when we covered our sex dolls, we did an episode on sex dolls, and we did an episode on transformation and freezing. We did talk a lot about somebody turning themselves into a mannequin, somebody like having those qualities. Yeah. And the big difference between this fetish and that is at no point in time were they ever human. It wasn't someone transformed. It wasn't looking for someone who has these qualities already. Because, again, you're defeating the purpose of what you're wanting from this mannequin or statue. And I think that's where that real big divot goes into.
So they are making these mannequins and statues in their mind people. People. And... Yeah. I can see almost like it. I know it sounds on a surface like I know that there's probably like people out there who are like, oh, why would you do that? But if you look at it in an aspect of attachment and the need and how attachment actually affects your sexuality, I mean, it makes sense. Like they want to feel secure and they want to feel loved or whatever. They want to be able to create that reality for themselves, because the reality that they've been in has not been great, and to feel and to create that warmth is sort of appealing.
No, I get it. Like I said, I think, and a lot of times I don't think anybody does it intentionally. Like, you've all seen that mannequin, you're like, oh, hey. And even if you don't have that fetish, have you never just like walked by and been like, if that person was a real person, what would they be like? Right. What is David's personality? He's got those big balls but tiny dick. Like, what's going on? Like, what was he doing? What's he doing tomorrow?
Have you ever wanted to touch it?
He's proven he's a shower, not a grower.
Have
you ever wanted to touch it? You just like, I just want to touch it.
No.
If I want to touch a small dick, I'll just reach in my pants. Okay? Let's.
Aww.
Microfiend Penny Pack, now available in the stores.
DonDarrowStreams.com/merch. Microfiend Fanny Pack. We should put that on the David statue. I need a photo of that. Just like
I can make that happen for you. Yeah, I can make that happen for you. I got you. Okay.
Wow.
But I'm absolutely fascinated about this because the more research I thought it was like what we started with, that the people are just wanting this very flawless individual that is like goddess-like. And yes, there is some aspect to it, but most of this is I need a connection, and I seek a connection that is the connection I feel safe with. I mean, a lot of these people have vivid imaginations. You're not going to see somebody with zero imagination having this kink. Chip, do you have this kink?
Do you have this kink?
I have zero imagination.
Oh.
That's why I asked if you had this kink.
I don't know. I could see myself. I could see myself having this kink. I would at least try it. I don't know. I feel like I would.
Yeah. I mean, if it was like, if you got to like, there was probably an era where they were doing statues that hung dong, like really just had packing meats.
Yeah.
I think, you know, get behind this, you know, functioning statues. You drill a little hole into like Venus de Mayo. I can get behind this, you know?
I mean, for all the people that use inanimate insertion toys, I mean, they're already using one part. What's so different of attaching the rest to the part?
See?
Yeah.
Fair. I'm there for it. I'm here for it.
That was actually, when I was looking into it, I was like, what is the difference between this kink and like having sex with a sex doll or like any type of sex toy? And that was it. That creating this separate individual, an attachment of yourself, your perfect dream partner. And that's where this kink really just sank into my brain. And I'm like, yes, put it all in my brain and just moosh it around in there. This is not so much like I just enjoy sex toys and I like inanimate objects. This is much more of an emotional bleed over.
Mental connection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is fascinating. I love it. I'm getting behind this. And again, you know, they find the flaws in these in these mannequins, and they define those mannequins based on those flaws. Like it's almost like you guys ever seen I Am Legend with Will Smith?
I actually have not.
Yes.
Have you not? All right, there's a scene where he's the last person left alive in the city, so he takes all these mannequins and poses them around the city, and he talks to them. He actually communicates to them, because, like I said, it's just getting that healthy. He has no one else to talk to. Like this is a thing of necessity, not so much of just want. Mm-hmm. And there would come a point where he started blurring the lines. One of the mannequins was moved by one of the bad guys in there. They were setting a trap, and he had. Excuse me. He had an actual breakdown about it being there, and he was just. You could see where that disconnect, where that line of, "Am I imagining this? Like, how could this be? Are you real? Am I losing my sanity?" Mm-hmm. So I think if you're wanting a better understanding about the reasons for this kink, go watch I Am Legend. Like, it's not about mannequins, I can promise you that. It's actually about, like, you know, a virus, Last Man on Earth. But there are several scenes where he is communicating with these mannequins. There's even one, there's one in a movie rental place. He's renting a movie, and it's this cute girl, and she's dressed nicely, mannequin. And he always just looks over at her like he was going to talk to her that day. And then he just kind of chickens out. And then one day he does talk to her, and it's probably one of the saddest moments in the movies. He just whispers in her ear, he said, "I wish you would say something."
Oh.
Just talk to me.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, in his head, he has built all of these characters.
Right.
Because he's all alone. And I think, to a lesser extreme, is what this fetish is at its heart. Is, I'm having trouble connecting with my peers and people around me, but nobody gets me like I get me.
And they can have an extension of themselves. They can have an extension of themselves in that mannequin or that statue.
And get these much very needed validation. Even if it's degraded validation. Because I read one where their statue is very cruel to them and very mean and very degrading to them. But it's what they want because they're the one making it happen.
Yeah.
It is consensual consent. It is the most consensual consent you could ever have.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Because anything that thing does you made it do, but you are it, so you are consenting upon consenting. Even if it's consensual non-consent, it's the most consenting consensual non-consent consent you can have. Multiple layers of consent.
It's like inception consent.
Consumption junction. What's your mouth?
What's your function? That being said, what do you guys think? Is this something you guys can get behind?
Yes.
Or in front of?
Absolutely. Whatever, sideways, cuddles. Yeah, I think so. I think I can see where that just need to emotionally, mentally connect. And it's not and the sexual attraction, just like with a real human, like with a real person, that follows. Like you connect with somebody emotionally and mentally, and then all of a sudden, like, they become very sexually attractive. So I can see, I can get behind this one. I think I'd support it.
The suspension of disbelief is probably one of my favorite parts of this, and it's just creating that character in your head, or taking somebody like, 'cause I think a lot of times what happens is, and this is what I do, is like, I'll look at a mannequin or something like that, and I'll go, what's the story? So I'll take little bits and pieces from people I know, like, okay, this quality here, this quality there, it kind of looks like this person, so let's give them this quality, and build that new human. And then just let it run out in your head all day long what that person is doing with their life.
You're never going to be able to see a mannequin again without looking at that. I'm just like, oh, I want your backstory.
Yeah. What is your backstory? I do that all the time. I'm like, why are you wearing those clothes? Like, what's going on? Is this your fashion sense? Or did somebody dress you? Are you going to a job interview?
Yeah. But see, I do that all the time, except with real humans. I just sit and watch.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
same. It is.
Yeah. Like.
It's people watching where you're always right.
Oh.
Right? Mind blowing. On that note, I have spun the wheel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, do we have any safeties on this one, though? Just to be safe? To cover all the bases?
Don't go taking them out of... I have read this. I have read the articles where people were breaking into department stores to steal mannequins. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't break the law.
No stealing.
I honestly believe all the safety of this stuff is very common sense stuff. And
you say that.
No, but here's the thing: is I'm not here to teach people how to live their life. There's no point in time where I take this podcast
and live a good life.
Yeah, I say my beats that the emotional disconnect is not always healthy. That is your main safety concern is diving too deep and losing yourself and creating these worlds and not creating fuss. I've talked about that one. That's the big safety on this one, is just your own connection to your realities, and always be aware of it, and always seek therapy if you're having trouble connecting to people. Seek therapy, and if it's working for you and you're happy and you're not having any problems in life, you're doing good, doing better than most. So have fun with it. So next week I'm going to be doing a break from talking. Because I feel like I cannot do this kink justice, so I shouldn't say a word next week. Honestly, just the sound of my voice is probably the opposite of what this kink is about.
Silence?
No.
Silence?
Silence do good.
Oralism.
Oralism?
A little ASMR, a little bit of smooth talking.
I'm so excited.
And one of us on here has done this on their Twitch stream and is known for their wonderful ability. So, Shep, I know you have done some research on ASMR and speaking.
I totally have this kink. Turn me on, Shep.
So next week, I'm not gonna say a word.
Voice line stuff.
Shut up, Shep. We're gonna let Shep talk the entire time.
No, I am here just to point, and what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna say a word. I'm not even introducing next week's episode. Shep, you've got 119 episodes to go back and listen to how this podcast is introduced. Because next week you're introducing it. You're doing my bit at the beginning. The part that you made fun of at the beginning of this episode. Now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn to do it right. Okay.
You get to do it right.
Boys, you're both pretty.
Oh, I'm just saying he's going to do it right. He's going to do it fantastic. I'm not saying a word. I will go, hi. And I'm just going to point at you guys, and you guys do all the talking. Next week's going to be the best sounding episode we've ever had.
You're just going to hold up signs?
Yeah. I'm just going to be like, Shep, talk. Shep, this. I'll have cue cards. I'll hold up cue cards so you guys know what to say. Like, if you're like struggling, I'll be like, cue cards about this or about that.
I'll be ready.
Fantastic. But that's it. I do want to remind everyone again, follow us on that social media. You know, we got the socials. Reach out to us if you have any of our kinks that we've talked about in the past, or you have this one, or you want to recommend one for a wheel for us to talk about. Because I just spin the wheel, I can add stuff to it. I won't take away from it unless we're covering it. Just reach out to us, talk to us. You will get us. It's not some like social media guy sitting in a room being by himself, sweating, eating Cheetos. Because I don't like Cheetos. It's usually me sitting in a room eating Fritos, which are so much better. And it's me answering.
You don't like Cheetos? What?
No, Cheetos are gross.
Cheetos.
Okay, you be eating Cheetos. I'm not. I'm eating Fritos. Chili cheese Fritos.
Cool,
So good. So I do want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. I am one of your hosts, John Ondero, and with me as always are the two most sexy talking people in the world, which you'll hear a lot of next week, Mr. Shep and Mrs. Rebecca.
Till next time.
Good evening, everyone.
Bye.